venture-backed tech companies, understand the tech space pretty well, understand what it is to start a company in San Diego. And there's a lot I do both within my job as sort of generating work employee and outside of my job. Programs like SLP are really important because, and I encourage you all to be very active in such programs. They help you gain the network that's going to help you grow your company, because it's not something that you want to do by yourself. And last thing I'd say is just encourage you all that San Diego is a great place to grow your business. There are more entrepreneurs growing great companies here than you know, and it's just incredible. So as we get to know each other, I'll be happy to help you get connected to the right people and get to know more about your businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. We'll go through questions in a second, but I want to bring up Dave, who's one of our, right now we have 2 mentors for the program. And these mentors are usually there just about every week, and they're there to help you with your ideas, to help you think through things, to help you with your businesses or your issues. For me personally, Dave has been instrumental not only in my business, but even just in my life. He's amazing. So I definitely suggest you talk to him, but I wanted Dave to give a little brief rundown of his background and also a little bit about what he does within SLP.
Thanks, Colin. So on behalf of the mentors, welcome tonight. I will tell you that 2 things that I'd like you to take away. One, I want, the word comes up for me is value for SLP. When one considers for less than $400, the price of a weekend in Vegas, you can be surrounded by like-minded entrepreneurs. You will be a part of an alum that will stretch across multiple continents, and probably by this time next year, this group as an aggregate would have closed probably $250 million in funding. So that's no small feat. The other thing I would suggest as you evaluate SLP is this word of relationship. It is just huge when you come away. I can promise you that at the end of your commitment to SLP, you will walk away with really strong connections and business relationships. A little bit about me. So I'm kind of a bipolar entrepreneur. I spent the first 17 years in technology. Had several successful exits in the technology space, primarily media platform delivery vehicles. Retired from that, failed miserably at it, and about 12 years ago decided I wanted to do life sciences. From there, was funded a couple of pharmaceutical companies, of which Eric and his group are primary corporate counsel for it. And so the point is, the mentors will bring a diversified viewpoint to you. So if you'd like to discuss what it's like on a massive software development schedule, we probably have experience in that. If you want to talk about drug development programs, we can talk about that. If you want to talk about vexing partnership challenges, it's likely we've been through it. So we're delighted you're here tonight, and good luck in the submissions.
Perfect. Thank you. So also, I also wanted to kind of just get another fellow or two to come up and talk, and then we'll ask questions. So see if probably Ping, and then maybe Rebecca, you want to do a brief rundown? So Ping, if you want to just give a little brief rundown on yourself, and then what's your experience with SLP.
Sure.
And thank you for having us here.
Oh, no. So this center is called the Answer Innovation Center, and we've always been a huge, huge supporter of the SLP program. I think intrinsically, our cores and our core values and our aspirations are very much aligned. If you have any questions about the center itself, you can direct it at both Wesley and myself, Richie, and other people here at the center. And really, it's geared as a co-working center. So one of the main things that San Diego really needs are nexus points where people come together, where creatives, innovators, and entrepreneurs can really come and meet each other. And also, it's nice to get out of the home. A lot of entrepreneurs will get their start in the home, but you really want to grow beyond that to really get yourself exposed to other people that can help you, whether it be mentors or other innovators and entrepreneurs themselves. So that's the co-working model that we have here. And also, I was a fellow last year in SLP as part and parcel of this whole entrepreneurial push to help develop the ecosystem and be a part of the entrepreneurial ecosystem here in San Diego. I had a fantastic time in the program. I thought it was a great sort of learning process, meeting also other potential mentors, figureheads, thought leaders here in San Diego, great mentors such as Dave, as well as other community leaders in the space. And really being able to bring together, if you will, and coalesce in your mind how to go about creating new startups, for example. And a little bit more background about myself. I actually spent 6 years in Silicon Valley. And I'm one of those hyper academics, degrees in computer science, electrical engineering, biology, PhD in bioengineering type thing. So all this academic information stuffed in my head, but how to actually execute it into some sort of startup is an entirely another type of practice. And in doing so, both through the SLP program as well as helping to sort of instigate a center like this has been extremely helpful for me. And I hope to share in my own experiences with you guys, and hopefully you guys can also participate as part of this community, coming together, working with each other to help create more value in this in San Diego. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rebecca, and a little bit about my background. So I'm trained as a PhD chemist, and during my graduate studies started a biotech company. Built that out for 4 years and sold it, and then moved to San Diego where I was consulting with startup companies. And so how I got involved with SLP is one of my longtime friends was part of the Boston chapter, and then SLP was only in Boston. She's like, you know, I heard that they want to start a chapter in San Diego. Maybe you should talk to the founder. So it turns out they had just done a spin out in Silicon Valley. So I was living in San Diego, so I flew up to Silicon Valley for class. And then I started the San Diego chapter the next year. And so having been through a startup, what SLP gave me was the first time I felt like I was on a deserted island. So you're an entrepreneur, you're like, am I really insane? Is this really a good idea? And there's just not a lot of people. I didn't have a network to talk to. So for me, SLP was expanding that network of like-minded individuals, even if they're in different sectors, but also building upon the knowledge I'd gained. So the things I did right, a lot of things that I did wrong, and being very open with others about that. And also just, you know, what am I going to do next? And so through the SLP community, I actually got my current gig. I'm the president of Oberon Fuels. We're an alternative fuel company making a cleaner alternative diesel. You can use anything from animal and food waste to pipeline natural gas to reduce our fuel. And so actually, one of the people who will probably be there for your term sheet negotiation class, Neil Centurion is our CEO. He's a 7-time serial entrepreneur, and I met him through this community. So that's actually a direct correlation of how SLP has helped me. Now with SLP, I actually sit on the board for the global program. So we have our program here in San Diego. We're a part of a much bigger ecosystem. And so while it's important to have your network here, it's also thinking about how big the world is. And so I remember early on an example, one of the New York City fellows sends out an email and says, hey, does anybody have an in with Zipcar? I need to talk with someone there. And right away, 3 people responded and said, I can get you in. And it was a very high executive level. And so just having that type of resource and that type of alumni network, you really can't put a price on it. So I encourage you to apply. If you have any questions, I'd love to talk with you afterwards.
Perfect, thank you. So yeah, so Rebecca was the one that brought SLP here, so we can all say thank you to her. So we've kind of gone through, hope you've gotten a little bit of different perspective from a lot of different people. What I want to do now is just go up for questions. So I know you guys probably have questions. There's no stupid question. Ask whatever you'd like to know about, and if I think of anything, I'll also say that. But any questions?
Do you have to focus on one project, or do you have multiple?
It's a good question.
Can you read the question repeat?
Oh yeah. Do you have to focus on one project or idea, or can you basically do others? So in theory, we really want you to have potentially some type of idea to come in with. It's not necessarily a requirement, but you are going to be kind of working on that. Now, saying that, a lot of people change. A lot of people change throughout the program. It's really more, and maybe someone will correct me. We've got a lot of bigwigs in SLP in here, but basically, from what I kind of experienced, it's more about the person and your drive and where you want to go and who you're going to be, not necessarily specifically your idea. So you can have an idea, you can change. You might not even necessarily have an exact or the idea you want, but you just have a couple of ideas. And I think you'll see a couple of fellows in here that had a couple ideas that then changed throughout the program and maybe even be changed now. And then some that have stuck with the same company throughout. So it's a very big mix, and like I said before, there's no really industry or specific idea we're looking for. It's more, are you willing to go for it? Are you willing to commit? Because it is a commitment. And also, are you willing to share and be a part of the community? Because you're going to take a lot from the community, but we also do, expect you to give to it too. We expect you to be committed to it.
Colin, can I add something?
Yeah,
to that?
and Rebecca.
One thing that really differentiates SLP is the fact that we focus on the entrepreneur versus a specific startup. So a lot of incubator programs is about your startup, but we're trying to develop the entrepreneur as a leader. So when you apply, think of it from that perspective. So even if you haven't started a company yet or it's in the middle, show things that you've done to show that you have this entrepreneurial drive, because that's really what differentiates people in the application process. Because if you don't have a startup now, the challenge is, how do we know they're really going to do it? So give us the data and the evidence that, that you really are going to start something. So that's one of the key differentiating factors.
Yeah, and that's probably a question. So Startup Leadership Program does not take any equity in any of your businesses, and it does not, we're not asking for any your firstborn or anything like that. The only thing that you're given is that you need is a fee of $375, which basically covers speaker gifts and some of the food and some random things, and also which is really cool. Some of it, quite a bit of it, actually goes to help other chapters in other parts of the world that don't have as much funding as we may have or don't have the same resources. So, because it is a nonprofit, they're trying to get chapters all over the world. Any other question?
Is there specialization or expertise amongst leadership for every aspect of business plan development?
Well,
does that make sense?
Yeah. So the question is there basically in the leadership team, are there specific skills for each part of the business? And the answer would be, in some cases, yes. I mean, you're going to see from a lot of the fellows from the last couple of years, there's a lot of skills. The mentors have gone through way more than any of us have gone through. And every week we bring in people that have all of those skills. So I can't say that we might cover everything, but through the different groups of panels and people that come in to speak, there definitely will pretty much be an expert in just about anything you can think of. So if it's not always there, it's going to be there in a couple of weeks for sure. That'd be
I know.
two.
To extend on that, can you give us a little more sense of what happens? I mean, what do we go through? What's the process? What happens every other Wednesday?
Sure. So it's a little bit different each week, but for the most part, you basically come in 6 o'clock, and normally it's normally split up. And we're actually going through curriculum right now, so every year we try to kind of improve it. So it changes with whatever's happening, and we try to say, hey, we take surveys every single class and see what did people like, what was good, what wasn't. And so we're currently going through that, so I can't give you, it's going to change a little bit. I think we're through class like 4 at this point. But basically the overall structure is you usually have some kind of speaker for about 45 minutes to an hour on some subject. We may have another speaker after a break at that point, and then usually the last 45 minutes is some type of activity. It switches though. Sometimes we bring in a panel of people that you get to just ask questions for an hour and a half. Other times we'll do group exercises. But for the most part, you're usually going to have 1 or 2 people that know their subject in that particular area, and then normally some kind of interactive piece to it. We do break it up into smaller groups we call cohorts. So there'll be about 20 to 25 people in this next year's class. And we break up into smaller groups based upon, we try to pull from all different industries and different skills. So like in my group, Jason's a super scientist wherever he is here, and I'm a hustler, and we had a neurosurgeon, and we had like someone becoming a patent lawyer. So very different skill sets, but we all worked together and we became great friends through it. So we do a lot of group activities to try to actually get you to take action on some of these steps. It's not just being spoken to all the whole time.
Yeah, can I add something to that too? Right, so one of the things that I liked a lot about SLP when I went through it was the simulations. So you can actually negotiate a term sheet across the table from an actual VC, but it's all done kind of in a mock simulation kind of way. So you get the opportunity to talk to somebody who really knows what they're talking about on the other side of the table, negotiating terms where at the end of the day, you're competing against the other fellows, but it doesn't impact your business. So there's about 2 or 3 of these competitions that we do throughout the course of the program that really give you an opportunity to play in the space of entrepreneurship. And I think that's really kind of unique. I don't know of really any other programs that give you that level of connection and access to other people in the industry.
Yeah, in your groups you go through those competitions, and like you said, you get to like actually pitch to a VC, and they get to tell you how they would have taken advantage of you, so that you can learn from that, which is super good, because now you get to know what you need to learn and how to effectively. Plus, you build that relationship. If they're impressed with you and you have an idea, and now you can go they've seen you face to face and seen you in action, and you don't really get those kind of opportunities very often. And it is a small group. There's only 20 to 25 people, so it is much more of a, we want every fellow to really interact with each other, and we want you to interact with the people, the speakers and the experts that come in.
Can I follow up again too on that, since I'm kind of working on the curriculum at the global level? Just to give you an idea, I mean, we start basically from the ideation stage. Even if you don't have an idea for a company, and kind of go through a logical progression of how do I develop a product out of that. Once I have a product, how do we think about marketing that? How do we develop a business model? And it's also incorporating a lot of soft skills too, like a lot of leadership skills. How do you deal with co-founder issues? How do you learn to read a term sheet? How do you learn to read a P&L statement? Like it's a lot of nuts and bolts, but it's also a lot of soft skills that you wouldn't normally get, without experience. And I think that's what's also cool is, the class. You have a class on term sheets. We'll bring in someone like Eric who does term sheets all the time, or someone like that who can tell you what all these terms mean, what's in your favor, what's in the investor's favor. And then the next week we'll do an interactive exercise where we bring in real investors, real VCs, and you get to negotiate a mock term sheet with them. So it's sort of like a reinforcement of classroom learning, but then you also get the piece, that interactive piece where you actually, that's where you really do the learning, when you're actually negotiating with someone else. So we're also trying to incorporate a lot of sort of like newer entrepreneurial topics like customer development, lean startup. We're going to do a lot of that this year also. So it's, like you said, it's constantly evolving. We're trying to get newer concepts in and keep the curriculum up to date with what's happening in the entrepreneurial community.
So Colin, can I throw in a couple comments, please? So kind of what Chip was talking about, there is this structured part, so we'll teach you the nuts and bolts of term sheet, negotiation, insurance, and all those other startup issues. But what the mentors will bring to the party will be this, so what? So how does this really matter to me? And some of the stuff some of the topics we'll cover can become daunting. Like, what do I really need to know, really? And so we will net that out for you. And we will net that out because we have a relationship with you. We've seen you every week. We'll be able to say, Charlie, you're talking about author, online, doing that kind of, but let's put it in perspective. Let's put it in priority. This is what an investor will want. So we bring this kind of holistic, intrinsic value to you that really is a great complement to both the curriculum and what you get from the panel speakers.
Any other questions?
I have two questions. I was wondering, is Answer the location for SLP meetings?
Sorry?
Is Answer the location?
Answer, no, we're still working on the location. So we'll know. We do know the dates though, so if you go to startupleadership.com, we have all the dates set up on exactly when, so you can start planning for that to make sure you can make it. So attendance is a really big deal. If you're going to commit to the program, we really need you to be there. And in fact, I think at the most you can miss is 2. So if it is somewhere where you're going to be gone constantly, we probably wouldn't have you in the program, just because you need to be there to connect with everyone, to kind of progress through the program, and also to actually get the full benefit, and actually give the full benefit to everyone else that's committing to it.
With that said, if you're in a city that has SLP, there's 6 in the U.S., you're more than welcome. Actually encouraged to go to their meetings also.
So yeah, if you're in a city that has SLP, you can
go
New York,
visit. Boston, Seattle, Chicago.
That counts.
And my other question was actually related to that. Do all the SLP programs follow, in different cities, follow the same curriculum?
Yes.
Yes.
At the same time?
At the same time.
In the U.S., for sure. And it gets a little bit...
I mean, they may be off a week or 2, depending on the countries and things like that, but because of the timing. But U.S. is, exactly the same. So if you were to show up, it would be most likely the same class.
It goes from September to when?
To the end of February. So, and I'm trying to think the last date. So there's basically...
I think it's March 13th.
Well, maybe it's beginning of March, potentially. So there's 2 all-day workshops. So there's a 2 Saturday all-day workshops. One's in the very beginning and one's in the very end. And then basically the rest of them are all Wednesday for the 3 hours every other week. So it's not too bad, but it is it's something to commit to for sure. I mean, I didn't think it was bad. It was fun. It was exciting to leave. So.
What sort of time commitments are there outside the class? Are there deliverables? In other words, is there homework sort of thing?
Yeah, there are. I mean, again, you're committing to it, so it's every other week. So it's kind of like the way I would look at it is plan on potentially having that day that you're off, actually potentially getting together and doing something. So 3 hours or so. There are competitions where you work as a group and you got to get it done. So if you guys can figure out, if one person's doing it, or most of the time that we would probably get together maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks with our just little group, depending on what competition was going on. And certain weeks seemed like, oh man, this is kind of intense, and other weeks just went by and was pretty casual. So it fluctuates. But I would say on average, a couple hours a week, every week, is probably where most of the time. But some people want to spend, it's up to whatever you want to put into it, really. But we do expect you to at least, put time into doing the competitions.
Is there a published list of mentors? Not that it's going to make a difference, but I'm curious.
Yeah, so there is, on website is our mentors, and we are looking at potentially adding a couple more here for San Diego. But you also get access as a fellow to the entire list of mentors throughout every chapter, and also the entire list of every fellow throughout every chapter, and a lot of what they are good at and what their business is in. And you'll see, like, we all support each other, and like some people will send out, say, hey, I need to get 250 votes for this contest, and like in 2 hours they've got 200 votes because we're all supporting each other because once you're part of the the organization. So yeah, you do get access. You can go online. Dave and Mike Krupp, who I don't think is here at the moment, are our 2 mentors right now, but we are talking about maybe adding a couple more. And you'll have people that come in, like we'll try to get Neil in a couple more times to show up, and Neil will always give his opinion, and which is great. So yeah, we're going to try to get as many people as we can in. So.
To give you an idea too,